Good evening, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to another edition of the Big Man on Campus Sports Betting Podcast. I am the Big Man on Campus. It is 5 o'clock, and that means we are back, ready and raring to go here on a hump day. Plenty of sports to talk about. We got a big baseball card, two NHL games, and an NBA game. Plenty of things to wet our whistle with. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. For some reason, I thought this was Tuesday. I don't. Again, that was my apology. And Ian Cameron pointed it out. Ian Cameron, our regular Wednesday guest. Ian will take us through and join us here every Wednesday. We'll go over plenty tonight. Ian, how you doing?
Yeah, I had to bust your chops when you said Tuesday, a big Tuesday here in the sports betting world. But yeah, Wednesday it is. But good to be with you again on a Wednesday.
Always good to have you, Ian Cameron. You can find Ian Cameron on Twitter at Bo Bano. Ian, we are just getting finished here with another Champions League match. For all of you that had both teams to score, tough one there. Liverpool really chokes today and gives you nothing. Obviously, a very good game from Lionel Messi. We likely – we don't know what's going to happen here. Obviously, we could have Ajax Barcelona, who really knows, but definitely a real pathetic performance today by Liverpool Football Club. They were beaten up in this game. Defensively, it was a mess all day. So we'll obviously in 8 days kind of figure out what's going to go on going forward. But Ian, I know you're not a big soccer guy, but I mean, Liverpool just really couldn't find the target today. I mean, they actually had the advantage in possession. They had 5 shots on goal. Just really were unable to figure it out. Defensively, again, I mean, a lot of the goals. I mean, Messi's third goal, there wasn't much you could do on that. Suarez's goal was tough, but a nice day for Barcelona, Ian Cameron.
It was. And actually, I watched most of the match. And once I got over the shock of realizing that you're pretty much screwed in this country if you have regular cable or satellite from watching this match, you got to be subscribed to that dopey DAZN thing, which is absolutely ridiculous. But once I got past that shock, I found it on the box here that I use at home. TNT had it in the States, and I was able to watch it with that. And yeah, Barcelona just looked like the better squad. Like, I'm not going to paint myself as a soccer expert, but I think they moved the ball better. I thought the player movement was better. It just looked like an overall better side and a better squad today. And obviously they want to take care of business being at home. It's one of those 2-leg deals that I know they do in the Champions League, and then they go back to Liverpool for the second leg next week. But I know it's not an insurmountable deficit for Liverpool, but it's a tough one, and it's going to be not very easy to overcome it against this Barcelona side, which, as you mentioned, loaded Messi and Suarez, and just great talent on that Barcelona team, and they showed it today.
Yeah, I mean, look, not getting an away goal, obviously, it will hurt as well. Plenty to get to here. We'll start with a little baseball here in just a second. We got NBA and NHL. Also, we got 2 games on the ice. Last night on the ice, I'm trying to remember. I had the Bruins. They lost. And I had what was the – I don't think I made a bet in the other game. So
San Jose, Colorado. You passed on that?
Yeah, I don't think I had anything. I kind of just went over that one. But I didn't have a good night here on this show last night. I actually had some tough ones. I had the under in that Clipper or that Houston game, which was one of the worst beats.
I voiced about that on Twitter.
Listen, I'm going to make this clear. I want to make this clear to anyone. Some of the most volatile thing you can bet on is NBA totals. I mean, they're really rough sometimes. I mean, you'll have a game where they'll score 70 points in a quarter, and then they'll score 41 in a quarter. I mean, it's real tough. But I mean, that one last night was brutal. I mean, you had 208 with like 20 seconds to go, and the game goes over. Look, I blame Austin Rivers. I don't know if you watched Ian, but at the end, Kevin Durant got into it with Chris Paul, and I think a lot of it had to do with why are you fouling? I mean, what are you fouling down 8 with 10 seconds to go? Yeah, really ugly. I mean, hard to really kind of go to sleep after that one. That was a rough one. And then I had the Bucks first quarter. That didn't get the job done. Baseball actually did pretty well, but I'm actually kind of irritated right now, Ian. I actually have a play right now with the Tampa Bay Rays in Game 2, and Blake Snell is getting destroyed in the first inning by fucking Kansas City. Kansas City somehow going to beat the Rays in 2 games here. It's only the first inning, but definitely a tough pill to swallow early on here, down 3-0. But hey, you never know. Stranger things have happened. Ian, did you watch that game last night? That was rough.
It was unbelievably rough and painful if you had the under. I mean, you had a right side all the way, was cruising under the total. I believe it was high 190s with about 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And then, of course, as you mentioned, Houston not giving up, fouling down the stretch. But this isn't college basketball. I think we got to remind Mike D'Antoni,
Exactly.
you're not in the
Exactly.
college ranks like your brother, Dan D'Antoni, down there at Marshall. I mean, you're in the pro ranks now. You're not going to get teams crumble, especially a team like Golden State that hits their free throws, very good free throw shooting team. You really think they're going to blow that kind of lead with just barely mere 30 seconds left? But they tried it anyway, and as a result, we got that late shenanigans, bucket, foul. It was that pattern for basically the last minute of that game, turning a dead nuts under into a brutal loss if you had that under in that game. And of course, even the side came into play with Golden State -5, 5.5, and it was right down to those Kevin Durant free throws right at the end that decided the point spread as well. So all kinds of shenanigans at the end of that NBA game. But if you were like Jeff and anybody that was on that under, that's a brutal loss. You deserve better than that. It's as you've mentioned it before, and even I had to bring it up last night. NBA, where amazing happens, and man, did it really happen? Amazing stuff last night with the way that one ended.
I will say, if you had the Rockets and you were whining, I mean, go away. I mean, look,
I had the Rockets, and I'm not whining.
Yeah,
That was
I
wrong
mean,
stuff.
the game was. I mean, you really in the entire second half, the game was never close. I mean, it was always double digits mostly. So yeah, I don't really think that was a rough one. But the over under was ugly. Please hit the like button and retweet the show on Twitter. Obviously, growing the show is of utmost importance. We're not in football season. We're not in college hoop season. This is the dog days, here coming up over the next couple of months. Retweet the show, get it out to people that might not see it on a regular basis. 9 points in 4 seconds. Yeah, that's. It's funny because someone tweeted at me that the under would hit, and I knew when they did that, I knew it was over. People just seem to not understand. Stop calling games before they're over. Stop doing that. People still find ways to be doing that, though. Ian, let's get into a couple baseball games here. I don't have a ton that I'm going to go over here. I obviously just made it clear that one of my plays is on this Kansas City-Tampa game. I want to get into one or two here, though, and maybe we'll get one or two from you. One that I do have my eye on is that Marlins-Cleveland game, Smith against Kluber. Big sharp action on the Miami Marlins. This is an interesting game. You're starting to see in some of these games. We saw it last night with the Mets, a big buyback on the Mets. Public was on the other side. Mets got the job done last night. You're seeing it again here. Listen, Vegas doesn't list these favorites. I mean, you have a total here, or you have a number here, Ian. This opened around 165. It's down to 125, 130. This has been a big move back. Obviously, the reverse line movement is interesting. And you're starting to look at this and say, well, you do have a pretty good pitcher on the other end. Carson Smith has been very good this year. Over his last 18 innings, I believe he has he's only given up 2 runs. He struck out 22. He's got a really good hard hit rate. This has been a really good pitcher, and they've won his last 3 starts. They only have 8 wins of the season, Miami, and 3 of them have come when Carson Smith pitches. And then I look at the total as well, and I'm also saying, well, I feel like Kluber, maybe he turned a corner a little bit. He had mentioned his mechanics had maybe been kind of out of whack, but he looked good in his last start. We know both these teams have major deficiencies scoring runs. I mean, Cleveland's brutal. Miami's worst in the league in runs scored. Not a high batting average for either two. First 5 under looks pretty solid here. You have a total of 6.5 as well. I kind of like Miami. Any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, this is a tough game because Corey Kluber's not a guy I'm putting money on. He is a bet against pitcher for me. I've already cashed in a couple of times against him. I don't like what I see from him in terms of he's given up some hard hits. He's been hit hard in a bunch of his starts. You look at his last 3 outings, 7.98 ERA for the season, 5.81 ERA, a 1.68 whip. That's not Corey Kluber numbers. And this is kind of something I forecasted coming into the season where Kluber's due for a decline a little bit. He's had a lot of innings the last few years. I think at some point that's going to take a toll, and we're seeing that. He's just not got that sharp, razor sharp pitching ability that we've seen from him in years past, and he's been hit around a bit. But here's the problem. I remember Darvish was struggling big time early in the season, and in fact, most of the season he struggled for the Cubs. He went into a start against the Miami Marlins, and he got right. And why did he get right? Because the Miami Marlins stink offensively. They're a horrible offense. They're a brutal lineup. I don't want to ask Miami to hit any kind of decent pitching. And I know Kluber's declined. He's still decent. Like, he's not horrible, but he's just not elite like he's been in the past couple of years where he's been in Cy Young contention. He's not that Corey Kluber anymore. So this is a dilemma for me. I want to go against Kluber at every opportunity possible, reasonable one. I don't think backing this pathetic Miami lineup is a reasonable opportunity to go against Corey Kluber. So this could be one of those starts where, even though it's not been the season he hoped for, he might even be able to shut down this anemic Miami team. So it's a difficult game for me, Jeff. I passed on it.
Yeah, I kind of like the under, and I will be honest. The Marlins have seemingly been one team that, even though the line makes sense, you should probably back them in a spot like this, they find ways to screw it up. If anything, if I would take a side, I would look Marlins first 5. Maybe hope that you can get, Carson's or Caleb. I think it's
Caleb Smith. Yeah, Caleb Smith. I'll say this too about Caleb Smith, betting, big man. The betting markets, I think there's, whether they're quant guys, they're advanced metrics guys, stats guys, math geeks, whatever. He's taken money in every start for Miami. People love Caleb Smith, and he's pitched well. He's pitched really well. He's really young lefty for the Marlins. But you got to be quick on the draw if you're going to bet Miami with him on the mound, because he's taking money at every start, every single start.
That's true, and you're definitely betting Smith at the worst number here. You really just kind of have to use it as kind of an experiment. Betting him every time he starts, hitting it right at the opener. Good point there, Ian Cameron. A couple others here. Definitely kind of had my eye a little bit on San Diego tonight. Cal Quantrill tonight pitching, son of former major leaguer Paul Quantrill. He's actually been very good. 2016 pick. He is recovering from Tommy John, but this is a good young pitcher. We're starting to see some of these young pitchers out in San Diego showcase some talent. We've seen it with Chris Paddock, Quantrill as well. Obviously, we know Max Fried's had a good season, but and it ended up not working out for me in the 5th inning last night. I took the kid Canning from the Angels in the first 5. That was another rough beat. I had the Angels last night in the first 5. They're up 3-1 and end up it's tied at the end of 3. So it was just kind of a rough night last night. But I'm kind of liking Ian. I like backing kids making their debut. It's always been something I enjoy, especially when they're highly regarded. This is a San Diego team that, look, we know, not overly impressive from an offensive standpoint, but I'm willing to maybe grab the plus 125, 130 here on a Captain Quantrill here. I like what I've seen out of him in the minors, and he can throw. He has all sorts of different pitches, a lot of developing ones.
Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of high hopes for him. Obviously, Paul Quantrill, Canadian as well. That's always nice. But yeah, Quantrill definitely a guy that has some upside. He had a brutal first start down in AAA this season, and after that, he was really good after from that point on. So, question is he going to be able to convert that over to the major league level? Max Fried's been good, but Max Fried's a regression candidate in my mind. He's going to not be able to keep pitching, I think, the way he has so far. So, San Diego to me did pique my interest as well. I didn't jump in because Atlanta's, a team that at home, particularly against left-handed pitching, they're a team that's been capable or not against lefties, or against righties. They've been able to hit the ball decently. So we'll see if they're able to get it going here against Quantrill. But I don't fault anyone for taking a chance with the Padres. To me, it's a guy that's had swing and miss ability down there in the minors. It's whether he can harness it here in his very first start for the Padres. But he's the number 12 prospect apparently in the organization right now, Quantrill, for this Padres team. We'll see what kind of goods he can deliver and bring to the table tonight. But I'd lean Padres too.
One other one, Mariners and Cubs. Cubs lose last night 6-5. 6-5. You got Marco Gonzalez tonight against John Lester. I'm going to go with Seattle in the first 5. I'm going to grab Gonzalez here. He's 6-1 in this year in the first 5. It doesn't get a ton of strikeouts, but a lot of fly balls, pop-ups, weak contact. I look what I'm seeing out of this kid. He's been really solid. He's been one of their better pitchers. And, Seattle's got plenty of right-handed bats that can attack our friend John Lester. I don't really want to get involved with Seattle's bullpen, but this is the game that I'm going to recommend as kind of a free pick of the day. I'm going to grab Gonzalez in Seattle. You look at Gonzalez, Ian, 5-0 with a 2.8 ERA. It's got a really good strikeout to walk ratio, and again, has been very good in the first five. I'm going to rock with Seattle in the first five, plus about 105.
Yeah, Seattle as a team against lefty pitching has been good overall and in the first five as well. It's funny you mentioned that. I'm on the same damn play. Seattle in the first 5 innings. Marco Gonzalez is a good pitcher. He's a bet-on pitcher. Seattle, to me, the one concern is their current form's not good. They've lost 6 of their last 8 games. They've sort of regressed after that red-hot start. We knew Seattle wasn't going to maintain that pace for the entire season, especially their offense. But your point about the bullpen is a valid one. The Seattle bullpen's really had a tough time. They've been taxed. They've been worked a lot lately, and they're just not getting the outs they need to in recent outings. So I'm a lot more comfortable with the first 5 innings here as well on Seattle than the full game. And you look at John Lester. This is as much a smoke and mirrors, how is he doing it kind of pitcher as we've got right now in Major League Baseball. All the hard hit contact rate, the xFIP, the FIP, all those numbers scream that this guy's going to get hit hard soon. And if it's not going to happen tonight, when's it going to happen? He's walked a tightrope to this point. He's had guys on base every inning. I've seen a lot of Lester starts this season. He's had guys on base almost every inning. He's managed to get that one little induce that one little bit of weak contact to get himself out of trouble when he's been really on the ropes, just asking to get crushed in a lot of these outings. Seattle might be that team to finally get that big clutch hit with guys on base to really hit Lester hard tonight, because Seattle's a great team against lefty pitching. 7 runs per game this season, Seattle against lefties. They've been feasting on southpaws this season. So I don't like this matchup at all for Lester, but you're right. In terms of the bullpen, it's been so bad for them. They blew the game again last night, late inning lead. They coughed it up. Cubs win 6-5 last night. I want to take that bullpen out of the equation. I like Seattle as well. Seattle team total over is something I would look at as well in this game, but I'm with you on that one. It's actually, I already have a bet on it myself with the Mariners plus 102 first 5 innings tonight.
Please hit the like button and retweet the show. Always very helpful. Thank you to Ian Cameron for always joining us here on a Wednesday. Ian, 1 or 2 more here. St. Louis against Washington. I like Mikolas. I'm a little jaded with him, though. I took him his first 2 starts, and he got after me and wasn't able to get the job done. So I'm kind of away with him. Detroit and Philadelphia. This Phillies team really struggling right now to hit the baseball. They got their big boy Aaron Nola on the mound. Again, public loving the Phillies. But it's hard to back Detroit just with the way that their offense is just so kind of all over the place. Any games you're looking at, Ian?
I'm going to take St. Louis there against Washington. And that's a very, very – I actually did a video for it, free play video. That St. Louis and Washington, that game's that prototypical game that I try to target in baseball where everybody's fixated on the starting pitching. Scherzer against Mikolas. Okay, which starting pitcher would you rather have, Scherzer or Mikolas? Scherzer, of course. I don't argue that. No question. But everything else about that game and those 2 teams right now, bullpen, lineups, just overall feel, current form, confidence, it's all on St. Louis's side. And getting the price that I'm getting now with the Cardinals in that game, plus 132, I'm more than willing to take that, even against Max Scherzer. This Washington team's a mess. Their lineup has been sketchy. Defensively, they've made some mistakes. Their bullpen's atrocious. And you talk about Max Scherzer, and yeah, he's pitched pretty good, although he did have that one rough outing against the Marlins of all teams that actually hit him pretty hard. He's not been quite as dominant as Mad Max Scherzer usually is. And it's also not like Washington's been winning when he's been on the mound. They're 1-5 in Max Scherzer's 6 starts this season. So you can say all you want how a great ace he is, a great pitcher he is. They're not winning for him. It's because of all the other problems the Washington Nationals have outside of Max Scherzer when he pitches. Their lineup can go cold. Their defense has made a ton of errors. I don't like their manager, Martinez. I never have. And their bullpen cannot get outs for the most part in the latter innings of these games. So that's a bad combination, even with Scherzer on the mound, to be laying this kind of price against a red-hot Cardinal team that's 9-1 in their last 10 games. I know it's a team at home looking to avoid a sweep, but to hell with that. I think there's value with St. Louis at a nice plus 132.
Yeah, you're always going to get a good offensive outing a lot of the time from St. Louis. Really the problem with, Max Scherzer is over the years, he just doesn't get a ton of run support. I remember when Cole Hamels was in Philly, I remember, one of the large issues that he always had was he didn't ever get run support for some reason, outside of a couple years. And, it really kind of hurt him from a standpoint of him winning games and stuff. But you look at Scherzer, again, this year, only getting – about 3.8 runs of support. Again, not terrible. I mean, he's not getting 1 or 2 runs, but he's not done enough with the way he's pitched. So, that's obviously been irritating. Yeah, you just don't win. I guess for me, when I fade Scherzer, I almost want to get a bit better of a price, but plus 132, not too bad, especially with the inability at times of that national bullpen. Ian Cameron going with St. Louis. I like that one. I just, for whatever reason, and I don't really have to say for whatever reason. I know what the reason is. Mikolas was good to me last year. I've been jaded by the guy this year for whatever reason. But Ian, let's kind of move on to some other things tonight. Thanks to everyone for watching. Make sure you support the show. A couple comments here. Russ B's in here. Jawan, Funny B, Chris Carter, Adam, Russ B, and Neil, the doggies. We get a comment here from the worst commenter in the history of YouTube, Scott Reidiger, who hates the show yet watches every day. So we thank Scott for watching the show. Just an elite supporter of ours, and without him, I don't know where we'd be. This is a good comment. Let's get into it. Jeff, why do you and Ian keep giving out NBA plays? I lost 2 units taking your under last night. It's time you guys start delivering. Well, Scott, first of all, Ian wasn't on the show yesterday, so I'm not really sure why you mentioned his name. Second of all, this is your last straw. I'm done with you. I put up with your behavior for a few weeks now, and downright, frankly, I'm sick of it. I don't owe you anything. You don't pay me anything. I don't owe you a fucking dime. I don't owe you to watch. Frankly, I couldn't care less if you ever watch me again. I don't need your support. I don't want it. Everyone on here is terrific other than you. I actually want to throw up when I see your comments. I'm that disgusted and annoyed. They don't bother me, but it bothers me that other people have to see them and put up with your bullshit. So here's an idea. Don't bet on any games we give out. Go away, ride off into the sunset, and go watch another show. I don't win 100% of the time. And the fact that you're quoting a game that was horrifically beaten and you're actually like dogging me for it, go find another hobby. Go away. You're gone. See ya.
Well, I'll have a message for Scott. I don't know if you got me mixed up with someone else, but I can tell you from a personal clients and members standpoint, we had an 0-2 night in the NBA last night. We had Houston and Boston, 2 wrong sides. Prior to that, I was 3-0 since the weekend began. Prior to that, we had Denver on Monday night. We had Houston and Boston, the same 2 teams on Sunday, and both of those teams got it done for us. So, unless you flunked grade 2 math, you're not splitting the atom, figuring out that 3-2 means profitable overall in those 5 plays. So I'm doing okay, Scott. Thank you for asking.
No, I mean, Scott's one of those guys where he always brings up every loss, but when you lose, nobody hears about it. He's one of those guys that likes to tell everyone how to behave and react and be. Keep in mind, though, he watches all of us. We don't watch him. So he's gone. We're done dealing with him. I've wanted to get rid of him for a while, but I gave him a chance. His tune never changes. It's always him trying to goat people into fights, and we're just not putting up with it. Doggies is from Australia. We have a bet type for race to score markets, and I'm looking at the Mets, Reds, both teams not to score 7 runs. What are your thoughts? So you're betting that they don't get to 7 runs. That's where I would probably go. Anytime DeGrom pitches, I have no interest in really feeling like there's going to be a ton of runs.
So just to translate that means you like under 7 in that game, right?
Yeah.
Trying to say.
I guess in like a random way.
That's what it sounds like to me.
As I was saying it, I was kind of like, well, I'm thinking the total 7. Yeah, listen, if I had to play it, I would go under 7. I will say this, Cincinnati, we know they have a poor offense. This is a group that we know throughout the years has had issues with their bullpen. I don't know. I'm still kind of on the fence about the Scalafini, but anytime he pitches DeGrom, I'm interested. Though he hasn't pitched well lately, so again, that's not something that's on my card tonight. Ian, let's move to NBA. We only have one game tonight. We obviously talked about last night being with some of those bad beats.
Oh, I'll throw out one more in baseball. It's a game we haven't even brought it up yet. I'm on the Blue Jays as well tonight. Small underdog against the LA Angels. Good bounce back spot. 3-1 this Blue Jays team since Vlad Guerrero Jr. got the call up. And from watching this team daily and seeing the pep and the step of the clubhouse and the manager, Charlie Montoyo, the team's got an emotional lift and boost and just a little more adrenaline and energy since he's called up. They finally lost, for the first time last night. Since his call up 4-3 in the opener to this Angels team. But this Pena kid for the Angels, I'm not impressed with him. He's been very erratic. He doesn't pitch deep into games. It's not a good Angel bullpen. It's not a deep Angels bullpen. And this guy's topping out at 4 or 5 innings for the most part in every start, and he's not really all that great. He's okay. He's not great, Pena. I think the Jays might be able to hit him and the Angel bullpen behind him. And then you look on the Blue Jays side of the equation, Marcus Stroman's been phenomenal. He's been excellent so far this season. He's pitched great in every single start, giving the Blue Jays a chance to win. He's dominated the Angels in the past. He has a very good track record against them. He's always going to be fired up to pitch there. You look at Stroman again this season, his walk rate's gone down, which is good to see. He's keeping the ball in the yard. He's just been excellent, and he's pitching with some incentive, Stroman, as well, because this is a guy that's probably on the trade block at some point this season for the Jays as they continue their rebuilding process. So he's trying to showcase what he's got to maybe a potential contender come the trade deadline. So there's a lot of incentive for Stroman to go out there and show what he can do. And he's been great so far. I think it's a nice little price, small road underdog to go with Toronto tonight.
Yeah, I think Stroman's kind of had a bit of a renaissance this year. It's a good call by you. Let's go to NBA. We got Portland and Denver tonight, game 2. Portland down 1-0. Total is currently 219.5, and the Denver Nuggets are 4-point favorites. Ian, I know you mentioned the zigzag theory a lot. Obviously, that would make sense here. But against the spread, it's not been that profitable, really. I know you mentioned for kind of a win-loss thing, but I look at this game tonight, and I will say I think Denver is just a better overall team. I don't think Portland has a real answer for Nikola Jokic. I think he just really outplayed everybody that they have Portland. I just don't like Portland outside of McCollum and Lillard. I randomly you'll get performances out of Rod Hood or I don't know something Aminu or somebody, but none of these guys are particularly great. And I love the Murray-Jokic tandem. They've been really good in the playoffs, and I think they're going to be really good for a long period of time. But I'm looking at this number at 219.5, and I'm kind of at the point where I just feel like this is probably going to be an over series. The first game really, got to 234. It was a high-scoring game. Both teams just kind of traded buckets for the most part. Jokic destroyed the Blazers, and I don't know if that's not going to continue here. I know that Murray's going to give me some. I know these teams are going to score. I just don't know that we're going to see a ton of unders between these two teams. They both are really good offensively, and again, when you have a team that can't defend the best player on the other team, look, and I'm not sure that Lillard and McCollum can be defended by the Nuggets. So, I think in overall, I'm kind of looking at this game and saying, well, maybe an over comes in. I do kind of think that Portland is going to struggle in this series. I think at the end of the day, I just think they're running into a better team here. But I kind of like the over in this game. Problem in some playoff games is you don't get the best number. But I think up to 220, I'm pretty interested in the over.
Yeah, obviously game 1 of this series was a game that absolutely flew over the total, 234 points we ended up with in that game. Easy over if you cashed in that. I'm with you in terms of the sentiment on the Denver Nuggets. I think it's a team that I was worried about them going into the first round against San Antonio. A lot of guys experiencing playoff basketball for the first time. Would they maybe crumble a little bit, quake in their boots a little bit under the pressure and the spotlight of the playoffs? Well, it wasn't easy, and it was shaky at times, especially Game 7 against San Antonio. They had that big lead, and the Spurs almost came all the way back and won, but they closed it out. They got past the Spurs in 7 games. And now I think Denver can relax a little bit, be a little bit more confident. And I think we saw that in game 1 against Portland. I thought they played a pretty good game. Now, Mike Malone, the head coach, says he wasn't happy with the defense in that game. And I would agree with that. They were excellent offensively. I think that's going to continue into this game tonight. You look at this Portland team and how they match up defensively. In my opinion, they don't match up defensively with Denver. You got Enes Kanter, who's not a great interior defender to begin with, that's complaining in the media and being quoted as saying, this injury that I'm dealing with, it's so painful I can barely get my clothes on without feeling some pain and some distress. That's a problem. And now you're asking that guy, Enes Kanter, who's I think a mediocre at best defender to begin with, to somehow guard Nikola Jokic, one of the best players going in the playoffs right now, who had 37 points in game 1, defend him and Paul Millsap, a good low post duo for the Denver Nuggets. No, I don't trust Enes Kanter to do that. And you look, who does Portland turn to after that in terms of trying to match up? Myers Leonard, Jake Layman. Where the hell do you go? That's why the Yusuf Nurkic injury.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for this to really show for the Portland Trail Blazers and what a massive injury this was for this team. It's going to show in this series, and it's already showed in game 1. I don't think they have a defensive stopper or a defensive answer for Nikola Jokic, for Millsap. On the flip side, I think Denver will defend the perimeter game of Portland better tonight. Let's not forget, Denver had the number 1 3-point defense in the NBA during the regular season. Didn't show in game 1. I think they make those adjustments tonight, neutralize at least. You're not going to shut down a Lillard and McCollum on that perimeter in that backcourt entirely. But I do think you're going to do a little bit better job tonight if you're Denver defensively against them. I can't say the same about Portland. So I don't know about the full game over, but I took Denver in game 1. I like them in the series. I don't like them quite as much tonight just because of the zigzag, but I'm willing to go against the zigzag here, Jeff. I think Denver's the better team. It's a cheap number at home, -4. They're a very good home court. After game 1 of the San Antonio series, they've been rolling at home for the most part, Denver. I'll lay the 4 here with Denver. I think they can get it done, and I don't like this matchup for Portland with Enes Kanter, who's a subpar defender, who's not even 100% due to that injury, complaining that he's feeling pain every time he puts his shirt on. That's not what I want going up against Jokic right now and Millsap inside for Denver. So I think it's just matchup problems galore for Portland. I like Denver -4 tonight. And Denver team total over makes a hell of a lot of sense to me too.
Yeah, I don't disagree with either play. Team total might be a good one as well. Yeah, really good breakdown. I agree with it totally. A couple comments here. Did I catch Francesa calling in a Boomer and Gio? Francesa got owned. I don't think he got owned. I don't think he got owned at all. I think they got owned. I mean, he wasn't wrong. I mean, look, was his comments on Ballantine kind of pathetic? Yeah. I mean, he definitely talked way before he knew anything about it. And that behavior was obviously not good. But I thought he was right with the Giants. I thought the pick, stuff he said about the picks and stuff and the organization, I thought he was right. I'm not sure how he got owned. But, look, we talked about Mike yesterday. He's obviously – a bit different. I mean, he's a lot more arrogant now. But that's Mike. I mean, that's always how Mike Francesa's been. I mean, I've listened to him since I was a kid. That's no different. But I don't think he got owned. I thought he was right, and I thought Gio kind of cowered in a corner. I don't know if Craig Carton might have had a different kind of overall thought on it. I think he would have been interesting in that kind of argument. But yeah, I think Gio kind of hid between his legs. Let's go to NHL.
Quickly before we do that, baseball update. I had the Pirates this afternoon.
Yep, they won.
Road favorite against Texas. They've just got it done. They sweat at the end, but they hang on 7-5. Texas had the tying runs in scoring position, but they hang on, the Pirates. And the Yankees trying to mount a little rally here, down 3-1 now to Arizona, 6th inning. I have the over in this game. So we need a little help with that. It's over 8. It's at 4 runs right now in the 6th, but Yankees starting to get some offense going against Merrill Kelly. It's about damn time. But, I'll give the Yankees credit. You're a Yankee fan, Jeff. I mean, I know you're not a big Aaron Boone guy at times, but, the fact that this team still kept their head above water with the glut of injuries and the glut of personnel missing in that lineup for several weeks, if not the entire season, is pretty impressive. The Yankees have the record they have right now, considering all the people that are out of the lineup.
No, I talked about that the other day. Yeah, you're 100% right. Tampa Bay being mystified by Glenn Sparkman.
That's baseball. Some of you're going to have these results that just scratch your head. You know, it's going to happen in the course of a long season.
And then you look at Kansas City, who just can't do anything wrong against Snell. I mean, just hitting the ball around the park. Glenn Sparkman sounds like a guy that would be in like a major league movie. Like he'd be like a pitcher of another team or something. Just a weird name and a bad pitcher, but somehow mystifying the Rays. Tonight you got two hockey games, Islanders and Carolina. Carolina 128, totals 5. Carolina up 2-0. Look, I have the Islanders to win the Stanley Cup. Obviously, I'm not happy with the first two games here. Is there any reason to think that they can come back here, Ian? I mean, what do you like tonight?
There's plenty of reason. You know, first of all, you got a head coach in Barry Trotz who's been here time and time again, playoffs every year with the Nashville Predators and with the Washington Capitals, and now in his first season with the Islanders. He's had series deficits before like this, and he's managed to pull his team back and win those series. He's done it before. He can do it again with this group. If you look at the New York Islanders, unless you're a complete and utter mental midget, you have no mental toughness, you have no will to keep competing and trying, and you have it's very easy for you to say I quit and give up, even though you're down 2-0 and now going on the road. You should be still optimistic if you're the Islanders. You outplayed Carolina for extended periods of both of the first two games of this series. You are dealing right now with an insane level of an inability to finish, an inability to find the back of the net, and just complete and utter bad puck luck. Like they had 4 or 5 goalposts and crossbars in game 2. They have a chance to tie the game in the final minute. There is a wide open, gaping, yawning cage right there for Anders Lee. All he's got to do is have a little patience, have a little poise. Instead of rushing the backhand shot, look at where you're aiming and put it in the wide open net. He rushes it, and he just basically flings the backhand off the side of the net. Next thing you know, Islanders lose. So that's the kind of stuff they're dealing with right now. They're dealing with a crisis offensively. Nobody's got confidence right now. All it's going to take for the Islanders is, and I think they're going to bring a strong effort out of the gate. It's no tomorrow if they lose this game. You don't want to go down 3-0. You get that first goal. It's amazing a team that's struggling offensively, what just getting that one goal, that first goal of the game can do for you confidence-wise. It gets everybody fired up. It gets the adrenaline flowing better. The energy is more positive, and you play better. You play harder. There's more wind in your sails, in your skating stride, and all that stuff. That's all it takes for the Islanders. Just keep shooting. You don't have to deal with Peter Mrazek now. He got injured the last game, so Curtis McElhinney will be in net tonight for Carolina. We'll see how he does. It's still a banged-up Carolina team, too. Svechnikov, will he play? We don't know. Martinook up front, he may not play. They lost Trevor Van Riemsdyk, a key defenseman, in the last game to injury. He's not likely to suit up. So the injuries are mounting for Carolina. Give them credit. They fought through it in game 2 to win that game. But Islanders were all over them. They just couldn't bury the puck, just could not find the back of the net. If they keep playing the way they did the first 2 games, eventually the hockey gods have to smile on you, at some point. I think it's tonight. I like the Islanders here plus 115. I don't think they're done just yet. If they lose tonight, they're done. But I think they're going to have a pretty good effort. And I think at a small road dog price, they got a chance to win this game. I think it's a bet worth making.
Obviously, a must win. I agree. I'm on it as well. This is going to be the one hockey play I'm on tonight. Islanders plus 115. I love it. I think they get the job done tonight. No Mrazek's obviously nice. They get a little backup in here. I think it works out for them here. Couple of comments. Love the show. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Trying to keep the thing afloat here. We'll get, obviously we get the NBA draft down the road. We get some, NFL we'll start to talk more about as the season gets closer and closer. Anil Frank, I like Arsenal at home tomorrow. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a good one. They're obviously focused on Europa. I think they get the job done at home as well. Good call. Ian, quick under the gun here. Whenever I see these on Twitter, I try to ask you. You got 10 seconds. Name a sports movie that starts with the letter F.
Name a sports movie that starts with the letter F. Oh, gee, I'm terrible at this shit. Just trying to figure it out off the top of my head.
9, 8.
Friday Night Lights. There we go.
Yeah, that's an easy one. Fish that saved Pittsburgh. There you go. Also, 21 years ago, I believe today, the best sports movie ever came out, and that is He Got Game. If you've ever seen it, I'm not sure why you haven't. Great movie for
Speaking
sure.
of great movies, I was sad to hear the passing of John Singleton the other day, the
Yep,
director.
yep,
Boys
yep.
in the Hood, tremendous movie. That's always what he's remembered for most, and why not? It was an excellent movie. So sad times to hear he passed away, but that was a great job he did with that film. One of my
By the
favorite.
way, while we're kind of in the middle, we'll go to the other game here in just 1 second. I really just wanted to get a few people and their thoughts on something. So, Ian, obviously summer's coming up here, and I like to put content out, but I've always wanted to put content out that I really like to do. The whole everything we do is sports related, and there are interests that I have outside of sports betting. One of them is I like to learn and read and get to know things that maybe I'm not sure about. But one thing that I've always really loved is mob history. It's something that I'd love. I just like reading about it and doing stuff like that. I was wondering what people's thoughts were on if you would listen to like a mob history type of show where I talk about a topic. You pick a different topic every week and talk about it. I have one that I did. It's on a certain subject, and I was kind of just wondering. There have been people that have asked me about it. Occasionally, we'll talk about Canadian organized crime, or we'll talk about like when Frank Cali got murdered, or whatever. So I was interested in kind of gauging the interest in it, and obviously, it's something that it's really a niche thing, but I think it's something that people always like a good mob story. So I kind of wanted to focus more on little things that are involved with the mob, but. If anyone has interest in that, let me know. I was curious to see what the thought process was behind it. Ian, the other game here, we have the Stars against Dallas. Or I'm sorry, the Stars against the Blues. Stars are down 2-1. Stars 125, total 5. Jake Bennington's been very good for St. Louis. St. Louis is really the talk of the NHL, coming from where they have. They're up 2-1. They could take a commanding lead tonight. What do you like here, Ian? Any thoughts?
Yeah, this has been the zigzag series of the second round so far. Losing teams bounced back each time and won the next game. Dallas did in game 2. St. Louis did in game 3. And I like Dallas a little bit before the series started. So in an obvious, what I think is a strong, you need to win this game type of bounce back spot for Dallas. I'm on them at about minus 125 tonight here in game 4. I think for them, it's clean up the defensive mistakes, clean up the turnovers. Ben Bishop be better than he was in the last game because he was out goaltended by Jordan Binnington. There's no question about that. And Bishop, we know, has a better game in him than that. Without a couple of the goals he could have stopped. He had a subpar game 1 and he had a strong game 2. He had a subpar game 3 last time out. I think he's going to have a strong game 4 tonight. Jim Montgomery saying we need to play with a little bit more desperation, the Dallas Stars head coach. So he kind of knows where this team's just got to be a little bit more sturdy in their own zone. I think special teams, they've had a very good series, but every little mistake they've made has ended up in the back of their net. And it was really a problem for them the other night. Look, St. Louis is not an easy team to go against. They've won every road game here in the playoffs. They're undefeated on the road. And that's the one thing that worries you if you're on Dallas like I am tonight. But I do think Dallas is a better game in them, that they can even up this series. I said from the beginning, it's probably got a good chance to go 7 games this series. I stand by that. I still believe that. I like Dallas here to tie it up.
Interesting. So you like one favorite and one dog. Definitely interesting. Yeah, I mean St. Louis. You got to agree they're one that if they could find a way to win the entire thing, that's got to be one of the most amazing comeback stories in NHL history. No,
It's amazing because they were the worst team in the NHL
yeah,
in January, early January, when they started to make their run. They were dead last in the entire league, and then they go all the way to almost win their division, second in the division, end up winning the first round against Winnipeg, despite not having home ice advantage in that series. And then, of course, they end up now against Dallas here in the second round and have a 2-1 series lead. So, I'm not selling St. Louis short. It's just that I think it's a back and forth series. I think the Stars, believe it or not, I trust their top 6 a little bit more at this point than St. Louis's. Their blue line up until game 3 had played pretty well. They can bounce back. I like them to tie this. I don't know about win the series. I took Dallas only because they were a plus price, and I think a coin flip 50-50 series. But if the St. Louis Blues win this series, it's certainly not going to shock me. It's a very good team. They've totally transformed themselves since Craig Berube took over as the head coach, and Jordan Binnington's been a big part of that with his performance in net in his rookie season. But I do think Dallas, at least tonight, can tie the series up, and then it's best 2 or 3 going into Game 5.
Good stuff, Ian Cameron. Just to kind of recap, for me, I'm going to go with the Islanders in hockey, and I'm going to take Seattle first 5 in MLB. Ian, what's your favorite play tonight? Give us one.
Favorite play? Oh boy, I can. Let's do the homer pick of the night. Toronto Blue Jays here as a slight underdog. I like that one. I mean, I like Stroman, and I'm not a big Pena guy. And Toronto's only lost once since Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s been there. And tough loss last night, but a good bounce back spot. Stroman's been tremendous so far. Let's take them as a small road underdog.
Ian, before we go, a lot of people are talking about Game of Thrones. I've never seen Game of Thrones. I don't believe you watch it either.
No.
And, I'm always kind of one of these guys that, like, I don't ever put anything above The Wire and Sopranos. There's something that won't ever be touched. And I was going through kind of just some thoughts about Sopranos the other day, and you and I occasionally talk about it, but I found some of the lists that I've made, Ian, of like certain things. Like I did the most annoying Sopranos characters, right? And I had tell me you thought some of these are annoying. Like how annoying was that guy Noah? Her boy.
Okay, yeah, no, the first boyfriend, Noah,
kid,
yeah, he was very, very, I didn't
he
like.
He had to be the worst, one of the worst characters as well. Another one I had, this is just from one episode, but he was strikingly annoying. That Alan Sappingsley, he was the owner of that like beach house that Tony's going to buy.
Yep,
and he acts like real tough and like won't give him his deposit back. He was a guy that I hated. Janice, she's obviously really annoying. And then Father Intantola, the priest.
What a weird son of a gun that guy was.
He was a little weasel. I always hated
that guy too that was at the school that Carmela kind of used him to get me. AJ got better grades. That guy bugged the hell out of me too. Yeah. And she had like a little, roll in the hay with him just so that AJ could get, get a pass and get better grades. And he was a little bit of a character too. I didn't like.
No, you're right. With that, he was like a college advisor.
Yeah, exactly.
What was that guy's name? I'm trying to remember. Wegler, Robert Wegler.
Robert Wegler. That's it. Yep.
No, that guy. Yeah, he is fairly annoying. That's actually good one. Another one I had. I don't know if you remember this girl, Caitlin. She was Meadows' roommate at Columbia.
Oh, the crazy one pulling the freaking hair out of her skull. She was so demented. Oh my goodness, I remember that.
She was rough, dude. She was real
scary. I feel sympathy for her, but at the same time, it's bugging me. You're scaring me here. You're creeping me out with all this nonsense that you're talking about. Yeah.
Feach Lamanna was pretty bad. He was a pretty annoying character. He was that guy that Tony sends back to prison. Georgie, the bar manager, he always was just, I thought, an annoying guy. I just found a couple other ones. Hottest women on Sopranos. Who would be yours, Ian, out of all the women? Here's who I had. I'll give you the list quickly. Charmaine Bucco, Rosalie April. I thought she was oddly kind of hot for some reason. Valentina La Paz, Gloria Trillo, Isabella, the girl from that Dream.
I'm a Gloria Trillo person.
The only thing I didn't like about Trillo was she was obviously nuts. I thought the hottest chick on Sopranos was Valentina La Paz. I thought she was hot as hell, man.
She was the Russian. Yeah.
No, she was she was Ralphie's girlfriend that Tony took.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right.
I thought Charmaine Bucco was pretty hot. She had a great rack. Who else was there? Oh, the Italian woman, the mob woman that he met when he was in Italy. Tony went to Italy.
Okay, yeah. That's a good choice too. Yeah.
What would be yours?
Well, like I say, Gloria would be
Gloria. She had this kind of interesting.
Even though her character was nutso, but we're not talking about character traits. We're talking about hotness traits. There's a big difference. Yeah.
Who was your most underrated character in this show? Did you have one?
Most underrated character,
I had Phil. I thought Phil was pretty underrated.
Phil was great. Phil was and so well acted. I mean that's a good choice in terms of underrated character. I'd have to think about that one long and hard.
A lot of people hate my thought here, but I thought AJ was one of the better characters of the show. From a character standpoint, I thought he was like what made The Sopranos a great show because he was like I was like his age when The Sopranos came out. We were like around the same age, and I remember when I was a kid, a lot of the same shit he did, I did, and I remember kind of being disciplined, kind of the way he was, and like I thought his like when he was a kid, he was kind of like a cooler character, and as he got older, he became a really irritating guy, and like just him being like a typical kid, like I thought he was a really underrated character. Like a lot of people hated him, but I thought he was a really underrated character. This is a really random one. Bobby's son was pretty underrated. Little Bobby.
Bobby, yeah.
I thought he
spit an image of Steven Sharipa. I'll tell you that right now.
He had a lot of really good one-liners. I thought, like if you look back to the show, like he had some good ones. But yeah, just something to think about. I thought. I mean, all the characters are great in their own mind, you know.
Something to think about for me in terms of sports, and I'm getting all kinds of emails. I'm seeing it now. Is we've got a Canadian basketball pro league starting next week, and Hamilton's got a team where I'm excited about it, and I'm even more excited when I see that the CEBL, as it's going to be called, Canadian Elite Basketball League, it's partnering up with BetChris. So what does that tell you? You're going to be able to bet this stuff. I'm looking forward to that. So the Canadian Elite Basketball League, the season begins, their first season next week. Hamilton's in the league. I'll be going to a few of their home games. I'm looking forward to that. Apparently, there's going to be some good talent. You know, they're open to signing guys international as well. A lot of Canadians, but some international as well.
I actually looked into this a little bit. Like I looked at some of the rosters and stuff. Like I know, like your team has like Junior Cadogan, I think, and like
Ricky Tarrant from the Memphis, Alabama Tulane days. Yeah,
Kyle McIntosh, I think.
Malcolm Duvivier, who played at Akron and Oregon State. I like the look of our roster, actually. Dwayne Notice at South Carolina.
If I can do a future, I'm taking Hamilton.
Go Honey Badgers, exactly. Yeah.
Chris Joseph's in the league, too. He's on the Niagara River Lions.
Yeah, good stuff. I know there's some decent players in this league. I'm telling you, it's not going to be too bad, I don't think.
I got a lot of shit because I bet 3-on-3, a big three, which I was actually pretty good at it. But in the summer, man, you need some of these leagues, man, to get you through. You know. And
this is going to get me through. I'll be going to the games. I'll be focusing on it a lot. I'm going to obviously with the hearing that BetChris is partnered up with the CEBL. It doesn't surprise me. Mike Moriali is the president and CEO of the CEBL. He's a smart guy. He knows that, hey, to get people interest, you've got to open it up to the possibilities of betting this stuff. You just have to. We're trying to get interest. We're trying to get excitement going. What better way to do that than, hey, let's make this a sport you can bet on and a league you can bet on. So I'm really excited to hear that.
You're going to be the capper for the Canadian B-ball.
I might be. I hope it's not just BetChris though. I hope there's other books that post. But
well, listen, if you can get a future, I'm taking the Hamilton team to win the whole thing.
Yeah, of course I'll take it because I'm a homer and I live here. But yeah, I'll take it too. And I don't think it's crazy. I've looked at the rosters. Every team, Hamilton's got a really good roster. I think they've made some good signings. You know, it's just a question of chemistry, cohesion. Can you get that together? And if they do, it's a pretty decent little basketball team they'll have.
Someone, I saw this story quickly. Someone counted that Joe Biden said the word folks 30 times in one speech.
He's pretty bad with that. Hey, folks. I saw some of that. So he's got to find another way to vary up his vocabulary, for crying out loud. I mean, you're trying to run for president. I know. Obviously, everybody's got the things they say a little bit more than other things. You know, everyone's got their favorite words and phrases and all that, but you got to vary it up a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I was tweeting out earlier about that kid that killed like 7 people in Tennessee and how he was on probation after he basically committed arson to his neighbor's house. And like, I've read into Tennessee like recently. I know they have like bail for murderers and stuff, and like they have just like a weird criminal justice system. But I read into that the kid was supposedly schizophrenic, and they took him to a hospital and they turned him away because he didn't have insurance. And now, you know, all this stuff could have maybe been prevented if the fucking hospital would have just accepted him. Also, Ian, did you read that? I read that there's possibly in the next 10 years, I guess scientists are looking into the possibility, not that it's going to happen, but supposedly there's like an asteroid that supposedly was going to be somewhat pretty close to Earth, supposedly.
Yeah, you don't like to hear that.
And it's like, we're kind of due for that to happen. Like it actually was quite frequent, like, hundreds of millions of years ago, but not to scare anyone, but that's just what I heard.
The way I see it, I'll believe it when I see it when it comes to that.
Exactly. But there you go. Sports in about 40, actually 50 minutes or so. We gave out all the games tonight. Went over
It's always just a tad bit longer when I'm on the show, of course. You're natural.
Well, you and Andrew McGinnis, being Canadian, I guess you just like to talk a little bit more than normal. But all right, guys, we will wrap up the show. Thanks for watching. We'll be here same time, same place tomorrow. We'll go over some things. As always, try to find some winners. Good luck. Hope you find some money tonight. And if you lose money, make sure it's not a lot. Ian, thanks for coming on. You can find Ian on Twitter at Bobano, Bobno. Hey, Ian, before we let you go, you're a Raptor fan, I guess you could say. What is your thoughts on Alan Horowitz, that super fan from the Sixers? What do you think about him?
Hey, you know what? Good on him. He got onto the front row, obviously, courtside the first two games in Toronto. Stand up and cheer, do all of that. Nothing wrong with that. It's great. Cheer on your Sixers. You're a big Sixers fan. What I didn't like was the sign. You're holding up that damn sign all the time, and there's people behind you obstructing their view, and you're doing it every time they score. That's the only issue I had. You don't need the sign. Stand up and cheer and be loud. That's great. Fantastic. Support the Sixers. I love it. I love stuff like that. But the sign blocking people's view, from what I heard, there was actually someone I know that was like sitting a few rows behind him in game one of that series. And they say half the time when he's standing up holding the sign, they couldn't see that part of the court. So that's the part you wish you could have done a little bit better job with that. You don't need the sign, but stand up and cheer. Like I know Raptors fans, we got pissed off with him. Hey, if he's standing up and cheering and just cheering the team, I got nothing wrong with that. It's the sign that bothered me a little bit more than anything else.
I will say, I went to the Sixer game. What was it? Game 5 against the Nets, and I got to tell you, like as I get older and older, like going to games suck, man. I mean, you got people constantly moving around, getting up and going to plays. It's just, especially where like our stadiums, like the Wells Fargo Center, it's all the seats are close together. They don't have cup hole. It's just kind of a messy place. But yeah, he's a big fan here. He's always
Aaron Boone, by the way, just got tossed in the Arizona game. So that's about as mad as I've ever seen him.
About time he show a little fervor. Once in a while, he's a little too passive. Blake Snell is getting just completely crushed. This game is way over. But that's too bad. Can't win them all. Everyone have a great night. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody. See ya.